Welcome back to part 5 of our series on the self-management of funding arrangements. And again this week I'm back with Kathy Rees, and this week, after talking last week about how to evaluate your readiness, we're going to talk about what the results of that evaluation might mean for you. So Kathy, last week we talked a lot about people going about the process of evaluating their readiness for self-management.
Yes.
And we did also let people know that there's a little tool in our ebook that we've got available for people for free, where they can go through a bit of a checklist and identify where they're at.
Yep.
And it'll give them an idea of they're very ready, or they're nearly ready, or they're really a long way from being ready.
Mm-hmm.
So if people have gone through that process and they're finding that they're on that continuum, but they're down in the spot that says, I'm not ready, what kind of tips can you give them? Or even, no, first of all, let's talk about what do you think really blocks people in the I'm not ready part?
Probably feeling overwhelmed by the tasks, or having and being overwhelmed because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I think that can be a major stumbling block. Equally, maybe underestimating what's ahead. Okay, so there are a number of tasks that people have to be able to do. It depends, of course, on what they choose to do. So if you're right at the beginning and you know that you want to manage, the arrangement or manage parts of it, that's also about being open to learning. If you've never had that exposure to, say, for example, hiring staff, that's about putting yourself into the position of, hiring staff, but with someone else there to guide you on doing that, or support you to do that. It's quite okay to ask for that sort of help.
So I think they've probably gone through the checklist, and if they're feeling overwhelmed, it could be with the tasks that perhaps take more time, or they don't know about, or they've never had to do before, so it's a bit scary and overwhelming. What are the steps they can take to get more ready? So what would you advise people to do to get more ready if they're feeling that sort of thing?
I think, if they've been with a service provider, that there might be someone that they trust within the service. There may be people, that they know or could know through other types of networks. They could be asking for help. If you don't know, you just think about how you function in other aspects of life. If you don't know, you go looking for information. If you're really motivated to do something, you will go and find the answers. It could be through, as I said, existing relationship with a service provider that is quite open and will support you to develop those skills, or it could be, like I said, through other avenues. Certainly, for example, if you want to know how to manage a budget, or you want to be able to fill in spreadsheets or something, and you've never done that before, there are plenty of people who can help you to learn that. You might go to TAFE, you might have a family friend or one of your own family who knows how to do that, that you can actually learn how to do those sort of things. I think breaking it down, and not, because it can be overwhelming thinking you've got to do everything. It can be just, oh my God, how can I do that? But if you break it down into smaller pieces, it's surprising what you can achieve.
And I guess getting over, or just having the courage and not being put off by the idea of asking for help. Where would you recommend people go first? So you've talked about, you could get yourself educated, you could talk to a service provider that you might have trust with. Say that they don't have networks around them that they feel that they could go to now. What are do you know of any specific places that they can go to get some more advice and support on the task side of things that they're feeling overwhelmed with? Is there any agencies or services that you know of that can provide that help now?
I think it depends on which aspect you're talking about. I know that there's the Pearls of Wisdom site on one of the sites on the internet. That certainly has been really useful to many people, just to go and read very simple stories about how people have gone about this. There's certainly lots of things on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
But certainly, you can go and look on the internet and search that way. But, certainly go and ask amongst your own friends. Who would they go to for X?
Yeah.
Or Y,
Yeah. And I know that we've put a link to Pearls of Wisdom both in the description box below this video and also in the free ebook that we have available. And Pearls of Wisdom, from what I've seen, has a lot of tools.
Yes, it does.
As well, that people can just go to and use.
Yeah.
And I'd say the benefit of going and just having a look at that is that the things you're not sure of, just looking at that website might just give people an understanding of what it is as well. So they might actually look at it and say, oh, I get that. Is that what they mean by that? Or that's not so hard. Or, oh, it's just this process. Or I could do that.
Yeah.
Do you think, given your knowledge of the website, that would help people in that way?
Yeah, I think it's also realising that it's ordinary people.
Yeah.
Writing about their experiences, whether they're a family member or whether they're a person with a disability or another person involved in all of this.
Yeah.
And they're just writing about it from an ordinary perspective.
Yeah.
Certainly there's information on the department's websites as well around this, and the NDIS
website.
Yeah. So I think it's not an unknown quantity anymore.
No.
There's lots of information out there to help.
Yeah.
And I think I spoke about that one other time, about people with disability having developed their own spreadsheets.
That's right.
And so people, there are the tools out there that can help.
Yeah, and not to be afraid to take that first step.
No.
Have you found in your experience that those that have done it and been there and done it, that they welcome people asking them about their journey and experience?
Of course, and I think you'll find on a number of other websites that people do offer that.
Yeah.
And certainly any of the training sessions or the information sessions for family give people the opportunity to do that. The peak bodies, they certainly welcome that as well. So CREW, parent to parent, but also Queensland Disabilities Network, that QDN. There's certainly other support agencies out there that can help. And I think, talk to people, listen, ask them questions, because, when you make a start on this, you don't have to be perfect right from square one. You have to have the willingness that you're going to learn and, do the best that you can. And by and large, that's what I find people do. They do have a willingness to do the best that they can.
Yeah, and learn as you go.
That's right.
So you've mentioned some really good services and agencies that can help. So CREW, which is Community Resource Unit.
That's right.
And they've got a website that's crew.org.au.
That's right.
They've got a lot of resources and they're doing a lot of workshops and things in the area, aren't they?
That's right.
So that's something people can look at. The Department of Communities, Child Safety and Disabilities also have a range of resources.
That's right.
So people can go there.
Yep.
And the NDIS one as well.
Yeah.
And there are other self-managed services such as Bespoke and things like that. Can you tell us a bit about Pearl and what Pearl does in that area?
Pearl operates in a way that's very much about people who want to self-manage themselves, and take on various aspects of responsibility in that area, whatever they're requiring. And, when you were talking about the spectrum, whether it's people actually wanting to do all of it or bits of it, or want to start on the journey, that's been what we've been involved with. We're operating in that space. But it's just about the self-managed arrangement. We don't provide anything there's no group activities and there's no centre-based.
Yep, you're not about the service delivery, you're about supporting people to undertake those self-managed arrangements.
Yeah, and we're very clear it's about better outcomes for the person with disability.
So it's all about the person with a disability and
right.
their goals and aspirations.
That's right.
Making sure they're safe and participating and
having a great
great
life.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, great life. Yeah.
I agree. Excellent. What about people who may have done that self-assessment and they're struggling with the values side of it? So say they've had trouble articulating their values, or say they've had trouble identifying goals and aspirations of the person with a disability that they may be supporting, or they don't even really know how to think about their own beliefs and values, how would you suggest people go about getting a little bit clearer on those things?
I found that, friends can tell you that, family members can tell you that, other people. It's about asking. If you're not clear about it yourself, you can actually say, well, to somebody else, what do you think I stand for? What do I represent? How do you see me representing my family member out in the community or in life or whatever? You can actually ask other people if you're not clear yourself.
That takes a lot of courage.
It does. Equally, you could go to the library and get books out on it, or you could go on the internet and Google what's a value, what's a belief. Because that's just terminology for things that are really important to us.
Yeah.
What do we stand for ourselves? What really matters?
What do we believe in?
Yeah, and what are we aspiring to, and what life would we, want to see the person with a disability having and aspiring to, just the same as anybody else.
Yeah. And there are tools available on Google's fabulous. How good is Google? Like, what did we ever do before Google? But it does give us the opportunity to find tools that we can use that help us figure out what our values are, or at least articulate them. There's, things that talk about your top 5 values, or narrowing down your values so you can identify what groups they're in. They are helpful, especially if you haven't done this sort of thing before.
Yeah, it's also thinking about a vision, so here you are, whatever day we are here in 2016, what would you want to see different or better, or something that you're aspiring to for 2017 or maybe 2020. We all have ideas about what we want to do in future. That's the same sort of principle here. What are we talking about that's better than what we've got right now?
Yeah.
So, even having a statement or, some thinking around, well, as a result of having some sort of supports in the life of the person with a disability, or, genuine relationship with other people in the community that's not paid, having valued roles, what would that look like?
Yeah.
What is it going to take? And then you can sort of step backwards and go, okay, in order to get that, we're going to need, this sort of, these sort of steps in between here, So even having an idea of what are we aspiring to can really help.
Yeah, and there are tools available for that as well. So I know that at CATS, when we did an ebook about the NDIS and you, we also developed a preparing for the plan worksheet, and it's very much like what you said, but it's identified the different areas of the NDIS, and it's asking people to think, it's asking specific questions about what it is you want, where you are now, where you want to be, what will it take, what do you need, what's important, and other considerations. So there's tools available for it that people can get hold of, not just from CATS, but again from CRU and NDS and things like that as well.
That's right, there's other sources for that.
Yeah.
But it's not always just about the paid support, it's also looking at the other things that are in all of our lives that are not paid for, and that also will have a role.
A big role. I think that one of the things that's come through for me with the NDIS is that the role of informal supports will be taken into consideration quite significantly.
Exactly.
So being able to think about the person's life with regard to that is going to be important too.
That's right.
So, and there's help there.
That's right.
Yeah. I think too, when you talk about asking people what you stand for, trust would have to be a big thing. So you want to ask people that you actually trust, that are either going to tell you, be honest with you, but also be respectful of you and what it is you're trying to do. Yeah.
I think one of the challenges, of course, in doing this sort of thing is when you do ask, you say, this is what I'm thinking of doing, is actually taking control and managing some aspects of the arrangement, or all of it, or whatever. The people around you who might go, oh, that's stupid, or, why don't you just leave it with a service provider to do, or, whatever. That can be hard to stand up against that, because other people from their own opinion and perspective may have an opinion about what's the right thing for you to do, if you like, if you know what I mean. But you've got to really think what's really important here. There will always be the naysayers around us. That's life. But we may need to have, and attract other people around us to support us.
Yeah.
to do that.
I'd say that would be quite critical, wouldn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And I think too, it's about, if you know why, it comes back to something you said in an earlier blog, if you know why you're doing this and why it's important, not just to you, but for the person with the disability, then it makes it easier to take those next steps and to ask the questions and to get the help and to deal with the naysayers, because people are going to get naysayers.
Well, it's tough when the naysayers are actually your partner.
So family
or
members.
Immediate family. Because they can have their own opinion about things around that too. So, you know, it's about having fortitude and again, having supports around you to do that. Because there's going to be a fair amount of resilience involved in all of that.
Definitely. So gather those people around you that you trust and who know have got your back, who will be honest and supportive. Important. And the help's out there.
That's right.
Excellent. So hopefully what we've done in this session is let you know that you may have gone through the assessment process and you've identified yourself as not being at all ready. This doesn't mean that you can't do it at all. And it certainly doesn't mean that you just stop. What it does mean is that you need to go for a little bit more assistance, do some more research, and get a bit more clear within yourself about the why and the how and what matters to you. And there's help there. So thank you, Kathy.
It's okay.
Another great session.
And make it happen.
And make it happen. Just do it.
Just do it.
Thank you, Kathy. See you next week. This stuff out can be a bit overwhelming. And that's why Kathy and I have developed a little guide and an ebook to help families and people with disabilities navigate their way through this and figure out what kind of self-management fund option might be best for you. So I'm going to include the link to the ebook in the description box below. So go ahead and it's free, download that and get started.